Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and Miniature channel update. In this update, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to talk about what I've been doing in September, what I plan to do in October and going forward, and some video games I'm playing, what I plan to play, any changes to the channel or any updates that you might need to know. And then at the end, what we'll do is we'll I'm pointing the wrong direction. We'll go ahead and take a look at some of the comments that were made on my channel, and we'll have a good laugh. And now, having said all that, I do want to point this out. This is the third time I've done this. The first time I was interrupted halfway through the video, so I decided to start over. And then the second time I just did it, my microphone was muted the whole time. So I spent an hour and a half. I know that's incredibly long. I spent an hour and a half talking about what we're going to be doing, and then realized that the microphone was muted the entire time, and I almost got frustrated enough to say, F it, I'll do it later tonight. But I said, nope. While it's on the top of my mind, while it's fresh in my head, and I've got everything set up, I'm just going to go ahead and do it again. But this time, I'm going to see what I can do about trimming the fat. Okay, I'm going to try to get this down to less than an hour. If you don't want to watch this all in one sitting, don't. Just watch it in chunks or whatever. But if you're a follower of my stream, if you're a follower on my channel, stick around. I talk about a lot of different topics about what goes on my channel and at my eBay store, and my miniature painting, as well as my computer gaming, as well as old things, new things, cool things. I got some news about Victrix and some news about Warlord games that might be interesting. Okay, so in September, I placed an order for, actually the month before September, I put an order in for some Victrix models because I wanted to expand my collection on the eBay store to a bunch of Napoleonics and Ancients and stuff like that they sell, and they have great models. Molds and stuff like that. So I said, and I'd like to experiment. And plus I got some new models coming out. They've got the Dacians. The Dacians came out a couple of months ago when I ordered them. Just today, I read an email. I must have got it yesterday, but just today I read an email that said, we have the order ready, and this is where you pay, and we'll ship it out as soon as you pay. That was 2 months ago. Okay, so I went ahead and paid. And so I expect to get that in about 2 weeks. Right? They're going to box it up, ship it out in 2 weeks. So 2.5 months. 2.5 months in the normal world would be unacceptable, right? You know that. It feels unacceptable to me. But you got to understand, or at least I have to understand, the world has gone to hell, right? So they don't have all the warehouse staff that they used to have. Okay. I understand that. They don't have the inventory that they used to have because miniature painting has gone through the roof during this time that we're in. Being able to restock is not much of an option because of international shipping from where they buy their plastic from, and the warehouses and factories that make their molds, they're understaffed or shut down. So they can't get it as fast as they want to get it. So I understand. But I'm just excited that they have my order ready to go and it's going to be shipped. Okay? Even though I've been sitting here waiting for it for a couple of months. I ordered it in anticipation of painting it so I could get it in my store so that I could sell it. I should have had it, I'm thinking, a month ago, where that stuff would all be on my shelf, but unfortunately it's not. Okay. So in the meantime, I've been painting other models that I've currently own and posting it on my eBay store. And I noticed that there, and you can see up on these pictures right here, these are all the models that I put up on my store, painted and put up on my store in September. Bolt Action is super popular. Like, that's a British soldier right there. But yeah, Bolt Action is one of my best sellers. I have gone through every Bolt Action model that I have painted and posted. I might have like 3 models, but still, that's nothing. And so I said, you know what? This was about a month ago. I said, you know, I'm getting low on Bolt Action. I better reorder, or I'm not going to have anything for sale. So I ordered from Warlord Games a month ago. I just got an email. Said, hey, we're ready to ship your order out. And sorry for the delay, because here it is. They're moving to a new facility. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Warlord is expanding or moving for a reason. I don't know, but they're moving to a new facility yesterday. And so he said, my trade partner said, it shouldn't affect the order. They should be going out anytime now, and it's not going to affect any current orders that are out and ready to go. So I was like, okay, cool. So I expect to get that in about 2 weeks. So in about 2 weeks, I'm going to be fluid with miniatures and models, and I won't know what to do. I'll be paralyzed with choice. You've heard of it before, like you get so many things to do that you don't do anything. I'm afraid that's going to happen to me. Right now, I'm being paralyzed with no choice. Like, I have no Warlord Bolt Action. I've got a ton of Hail Caesar and black powder stuff. So that's what I'm going to be filling October with, is Napoleonics and Ancients. So if you're looking for Napoleonics or Ancients, check it out. I've got some Nassau guys primed outside. Actually, I primed them before the first video, so they're probably dry. So I should bring them in. Plus, I'm reimagining my basing. And I'll go into that in a little bit. That was part of the time. Okay, so let's just knock this out and get this out of the way early in the video, and then we can get into the Wargaming and miniature section of it. I have a YouTube channel where I play a lot of computer games, right? Or I play computer games and I upload them to YouTube. One of them is IL-2. I play a lot of IL-2. I love it to death. I noticed that they're like releasing a plane about once a month as part of the Normandy expansion. There's about 20 planes, or a dozen planes at least, that need to be released for that expansion. So I don't anticipate Normandy actually coming out in earnest until maybe June 6th, maybe D-Day. I don't know, but that's my anticipation. So over the next few months, they're going to be releasing the map and the planes and stuff like that. And eventually we'll have the game probably in June. That's what I'm thinking. So in the meantime, I'm just doing careers and stuff. I'm also flying Rise of Flight, or at least I'm planning on restarting my Rise of Flight Navy campaign. I'm thinking about it. The next one, I'm currently flying a Tempest campaign called Wind of Fury, which is pretty cool. It's a new campaign, just came out. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. New visibility in the game, making it easier for me to see with these horrible things. So I'm digging that. The other two IL-2, or the other three flight simulators that I play is Cliffs of Dover, Sand of Tobruk, or whatever it's called, and War Thunder. They're all too. I just don't like them. War Thunder is too one-sided. It just seems very. I don't know how to say it. It seems to be too. What's the word I'm looking for? Death matchy. It seems like it's a death match. And the Tobruk and the Cliffs of Dover, the graphics aren't any good. The flight models just don't feel right. They feel wobbly. The cockpits are extremely detailed. I'm super happy with that. But and the sound doesn't come through properly, or I don't know, something's up with my games. So I just don't have fun playing those games. So I stopped playing them. War Thunder I play every now and then because of the tank play. I like the tank play better than the plane play. I like the tank play in War Thunder better than I like the tank play in IL-2. I don't play World of Tanks. That's an arcade game, so I don't play that. Okay, now I've also been playing a ton of Star Trek Online. I've been playing a lot of that online, offline. I record some. I don't record others. So, like in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., I say, you know what? I'm going to play an hour of Star Trek Online. I jump on, I play a little bit. Or I might say, you know, I'm going to jump up online and I'm going to hit the play button or the record button. So, you know, never know. Never know what you're going to get out of that. I also am playing Phoenix Point. I've been playing a lot of Phoenix Point. The Legacy of the Ancients DLC came out, and I've been playing a lot of that. I'm having a really good time. It's re-energized my enjoyment of that game, so I'm super excited about that. That's a DLC that came out. Okay, so that's what's going on in my computer gaming world, right? But in my miniature gaming world, we're still in the middle of a bad year, right? And we don't have we got social distancing happening, so we don't have a lot of actual face-to-face games going on right now. So I'm taking this opportunity to flesh out my armies and things like that to get them ready for when we do. Like this year's NashCon was canceled, so maybe next year I'll have like even a better army or a bigger army or different games to play or something like that. So one thing that I am working on is my Macedonians and my Republican Romans. I did order some Carthaginians, so I should be able to get some of those. We might do a Carthage battle, might do a, I don't know, who knows what. I don't think so I plan to do that. Now, basing wise, this is a whole topic. Let me hold this let's bring this into the last or later in the video. So I'm going to talk about basing here in a little bit. I'm not rebasing, I'm reimagining my bases. So I'll explain it in a bit. Okay, now you can see all the figures that I've been painting up here, mostly bolt action, but there are some Ancients and Napoleonics figures. I did some Brunswickers. I did the Spanish last month. I think I did Belgians and some French. Yeah, for Napoleonics. Now I also have some like Ancients. The Romans are selling really good. Imperial Romans apparently are very popular. I have some Caesarian Romans as well, from Warlord. And so I plan to sell some of those as well coming up in this coming month. Yeah, so my bolt action models, I think it's my number one seller is bolt action. I love building the tanks, putting the models together, painting them up, different armies. Like here's some American paratroopers right there. Now, I don't know if you know this, but those American paratroopers had 3 eras of uniforms. They all are stitched the same. The color was the only real major difference. So these guys here are Market Garden color themed, you know. Okay, what is that? The 1943 uniform, I think is what it was called. Okay, well, yeah, basing. Let's just go ahead and jump into basing before we get into questions over here. I'm going to answer a lot of these questions for a second time, but I need to kind of preface my basing comments with this. I play 2 games in the ancient period, right? We play SPQR and Hail Caesar. They're both very different games. Basing and unit composition is very different. The advantage is if I have bases mounted individual or figures mounted individually, I could group them up in a tray and have units of figures that we can use for Hail Caesar. Okay, so that was my thought process originally. I mounted all my SPQR guys on 1-inch bases, metal washers, so then I could mount them onto magnets. 1-inch base SPQR, 1-inch base SPQR figures is optimal. That is perfect for SPQR. But when I took those 1-inch bases and I put them on the magnetic bases and I fielded them as units for Hail Caesar, it didn't have the right feeling. The figures were too far apart because now they have a 1-inch base instead of a 20-inch base. And the unit bases were too big, and the trays were magnets with a bunch of these round circles. It just didn't have the right je ne sais quoi. I don't know what you would say. It just didn't have the right feeling to it. So I said, let's do this. Let's mount my Republican Romans, which I have now on the wall. Let's mount them on 20-inch squares. Very weird, right? I said, and then I'll put like the little magnetic, what do you call it? The flex steel. I'll put that on the bottom of these 20-inch squares, and we'll mount them on the good old 20 or 40 by 40 Hail Caesar bases. I did that. Works awesome. I was like, man, they look good too. You get these 4 squares, forms a base, and I was like, awesome. And then I thought about that in my black powder game. I said, you know what? I could take my skirmishers, mount them on 20 by 20s, and I could put 4 of them together, and I'll have a black powder. I could put them in a unit, 24 figures, and when they skirmish, just take those 4 individuals and put them out front. I was like, okay, this is awesome. That works great. Okay, that works awesome. And that's what I was doing. That's what I had started doing in September, was gradually converting all my 1-inch circles into 20 millimeter squares. So I was cutting them off, regluing them. I had done that for my entire Republican Roman army, which they were never on circles. And then my Macedonians, which I had them all on circles. And now they're all on 20 millimeter, except for the medium infantry. Those are still on circles, which still need to be converted. But my phalangites are all on squares now. And then I can put them on extra large bases. I put them on like 60 by 80s. So basically they're 4 figures wide by 3 figures deep to make the one base, and then 2 of those bases would make a phalanx. But okay, so the entire Macedonian army has been converted over there pretty much. So going forward, I'm going to mount my guys on 20 by 20s. A couple of days ago, I don't know if it's my age or if it's after reviewing the French box sets, or if it's just laziness or aesthetics or what it is. I transitioned, or I progressed, or I evolved into a new theory of basing my figures. I did it with my Macedonians, right? My 80s by 60s, so 4 across, 3 deep. I was thinking, if I can do that with individually mounted guys, why can't I just take my individually mounted Napoleonics, which they're not individually. I never have really done any individual mounted Napoleonics because I'm not playing any of the sharp practice or whatever they are, and none of the skirmish, chosen men, or any of those other Osprey game. So I was thinking I could mount them individually and magnetize them, and then I can put them on various size bases depending on how I want to do it. Or, this is what I'm doing with my Nassau guys that I've primed, I'm going to put them on 2 deep, so 40 millimeters, by 3 across, so 60 millimeters, to make a 6-figure base. The 2 reasons why I thought about this, or what really kind of sparked my interest in doing this, was the French box set. The French box set of Napoleonics, when I looked at it, there is 6 command figures. Drummer, standard bearer, 2 attendants, a sapper, and the officer, right? And you take those 6, I could put them on one stand. In the past, what I would do is put the sapper somewhere else in the unit, or I would put the attendants with the standard and then the drummer somewhere else, or it became a nightmare. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to make a 6-figure base with all of those models. And then it kind of came to me that I make 24-figure units. 24 is divisible by 6. So instead of 6 4-figure units, I'm going to make 4 6-figure bases. So then I'll have 4 in a line, or 4 in kind of a 2 in the front, 2 in the back column. If I wanted to go march column, you could still do march column. It would just be 4 bases deep. The frontage would just be 3 figures. And I'm thinking to myself, what's the problem with that? There's no problem with that. 60 millimeters compared to 40 millimeters, not that much of a difference. It's going to make it easier to move the models around because there's less bases to move. There's only 4 bases per battalion, so it's going to be like way easier to move them. When I make skirmishers, instead of making 4 figures as the skirmishers, I'll be able to make 6 figures as a skirmisher. I was thinking, okay, that's pretty cool. I could make a whole base Voltigeurs. I can make a whole base Grenadiers, a base of Fusiliers, and then the command stand. Now, that's probably not the proper... it's probably not the proper way to do it. I probably should have 6 bases still. 3 Fusiliers, command, Grenadier, Fusilier, or Voltigeur. But I'm going to have to toy with that and see how that works. The NASA unit that I just primed has 6 command figures, 6 light company figures, and 12 Fusilier figures. That's going to work perfect. Yeah. So 4 6-figure bases. So that's what I'm going to do with that. If the NASA guys skirmish, then I'm going to put that light or the flanker company or whatever they call it, I'm going to make those the skirmishers if it's a mixed unit. Not every Napoleonic unit can skirmish. And if they can't, then I'm just going to base them on the 6-figure base. I think that's the way I'm going to go from now on. I think that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to lay out a bunch of my base sizes, just bases, on the table, and I'm going to stand there, maybe with the camera on, maybe show you guys this my thought process. I'm going to put the bases together and see how they play with each other. I even thought of a I know this is weird, but I thought about having 6 bases, 2 of them being 6-figure bases, and then 4 of them being 4-figure bases. So like having a 6 in the middle, a 6 right behind it, so it'll fit, and then 2 4s on the sides. I thought about that because then one base each could be Voltigeurs Grenadiers on the sides. And then, but I don't know. That wouldn't look good. I don't think that'd look good. But I'm gonna put everything on the table and we're gonna figure it out. In my personal units, I'm gonna magnetize my skirmishers, but on the ones that I sell, I'm just gonna put them on the extra thick 20mm bases. I think. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure that out. Am I going to magnetize every single model? No. I thought about this. Even in my Republican Roman army, I don't need every single model to be a skirmisher, a single figure, because when I play SPQR, I don't use the entire army. I only use a small portion of the army, like 30 figures. So once I have an SPQR force that's mounted individually, all my other figures are going to be mounted in groups. So they just won't ever be used as skirmishers or as SPQR. Yeah, so I'm going through a basing dilemma right now, but I ordered like 200 of the 2x3 bases that I plan to mount up, a unit of French, a unit of Nassau, just to see what they look like. Now, when we go into the Hail Caesar portion, I'm still gonna I had 3 strings pulling on me, and one of them was Hail Caesar. I don't know if you know this, but Republican Roman, every unit is small. So I made these small Republican Principe, Hastati, Triarii units with 8 figures. So two bases, a 4 and a 4, right? That would be a Hastati unit. And then a 4 and a 4 would be a Principe unit. And if you had, when you buy them, you got to buy them in pairs. So you got to have a Hastati and a Principe, and then a Hastati and a Principe, and then you could have a Triarii. So I would have 5 of those units as kind of my division. But it looks small. It looks like, it doesn't look right, because I'll put another unit on the table. It'll be 24 figures, and then those 8 figures looked way too small. So I thought about it. It kind of came, epiphany. If I use those 6-figure bases and still only 2 bases. It'd be 12 figures. It would be exactly half, which I think is what a small unit's supposed to be. You have the 24 figures as your normal size unit, and then you have your 2 bases or 12 figures for your small unit. And I think it'll look a lot better with 6 figures per base instead of just 4. The frontage, I think, will be appropriate, and I think it'll just look better. So that's what I plan to do. So what I'm going to have to do to my units that I have over there right now is expand the division. The division's only got 8-figure units. I need to up that to 12 and put them on 6-figure bases. But luckily, right now, my Republican Romans are all individually magnetized, so that should be no problem. I just pop them off and put them on the right magnets. And but I'm going to have to flesh out the units because I use different shield decals for like Principes and Triarii and stuff. So luckily I still have a bunch of these like decals still remaining that I didn't use because I only used 8 instead of 12. They come with 12 on a thing, so that's like perfect. So I don't know. Yeah, so rebasing, some of those guys should be coming this month, as well as those 2 orders, one from Victrix, one from Warlord. And then expect my models to be mostly Ancients and Napoleonics this month until I get some more bolt action models in. Okay, let's talk about the comments right here on my YouTube channel. Some of them are hysterical, some of them are rude. But that's okay. Let's take a look. Most of them are from honest and good people. Okay, most of them are from people I really like. Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Tiggs' comment here. It says that he will be sending me an invite to Star Trek Online because he has an organization and he used to play it every single day. Okay, waiting for that. John Mick. Yeah, John Mick, or John MC. If you had watched this first video that I made, I read this comment. I was so heated. I throwing books around and banging on the table. No, I wasn't. I would never do that. But John, I want you to know something. I'm right. 100%. Whatever you're saying, you got. Yeah. You're wrong. It's straight up. I hate to break it to you, but you're wrong. And I want to give you a little context. First of all, I went and grabbed my Traveler book because I wanted to point this out on screen, and I will. But before I do that, I want you to know, I don't know if you can see that shelf there, right? That top shelf. That's classic Traveler. Okay, we're talking Traveler 1976, 1977 Traveler, right there. On that end, we got Mongoose 2nd edition Traveler. Mongoose 1st edition Traveler. GURPS Traveler. Traveler. Mark Miller's Traveler. I'm sorry. Mark Miller's Traveler. Milu 0. Traveler. T20 Traveler. Mega Traveler. Traveler the New Era. Any Traveler I might have missed? Traveler reprint. All these mags down here, which I don't know if you can see that. Yep, yeah, I think you can. Challenge magazines. Every issue. Right there. That whole bottom shelf. Every one of those is binders, folders, third-party traveler materials, personal handwritten traveler materials, whole campaigns and 3-ring binders. Not counting that half of that second shelf, that's all D&D. Okay. Traveler is my go-to role-playing game. I've been playing it since '77. I've played every version of it. Every version. When I did that Learn to Play Traveler, I was currently in the middle of a game playing Traveler. Currently, right now, I'm playing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. If, I'm not going back and re-listening to that video, but if I misspoke in that video, then I am wrong. I doubt if I did, because when I do tutorials, I have the source material in my face and I'm reading straight out of the book, usually. So my tutorials are really books on tape. Let's see here. It says, your suggestion that the stat score of 15 giving you a +3 bonus. Wait, your suggestion that the stat score of 15 giving you a +3 bonus is an error unless your character is an alien race or similar isn't quite correct. Okay. If I made that statement saying that a 15 is an error, then I was incorrect. Because I'm looking right here, characteristic modifiers, 15 or better gives you a +3. How is that an error? That's not an error, that's black and white. And it says your maximum score is a 15. Okay, for unaugmented human characters. It's always been that. Since first edition, 15 has always been your maximum stat. F. Hexadecimal F has always been your maximum stat, unless you're augmented or an alien race. You might have misheard me if, and I will step back and say, if I misspoke and said that it must be an error, then that is incorrect. Dave Ingram. Hey, or Ingraham. Dave. I love you, man. Man, I love you to death. You give me a comment on every single one of my Phoenix Point videos. I upload a Phoenix Point video. You have something to say, and I appreciate that. Now, having said that, I read this comment earlier, and I went on this super long diatribe, so I'm going to try to cut that down to a reasonable amount. When I'm gaming, or when I'm playing a game, I do not want my audience to make a comment that I can read telling me what I'm doing wrong. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to say, if you shoot them in the toe, you'll do more damage than if you shoot them in the head. I don't want to hear that. You said shoot them in the egg sacs because it'll cause bleed and it'll kill them faster. Now I know this and I can't unlearn this. I wish I did not read that comment because I don't want to know the meta. I don't want to know the quickest way to kill a creature. Let me rephrase that. I want to know that, but I want to learn that on my own. I want to stand on my own 2 feet. I don't want to be held up or propped up. But I know you're just trying to help, and you're just making a suggestion, and you know the most effective tactic available, the meta, is to do that, and so I will succeed and make my life easier. I appreciate that, but I don't want to be told that. I don't want backseat gamers. I don't want people to tell me, hey, if you go through this door, you'll get +5 gold, but if you go through that door, you'll be killed. I don't want people to tell me that. I want me to have to make a decision and either choose gold or choose death. I don't want you to tell me the answer. But I do appreciate that you watch every one of those videos and you make a comment on every video, and I understand that it came from a place of love and you're just trying to help. So I'm just telling you, in the future, going forward, shush. I mean, you can comment, but just don't tell me any tactics. Don't tell me any most effective ways to do things. Okay, Frank. I was playing this Wings of Tobruk, and you are absolutely correct. You have to crank up the landing gear. So you gotta, in the cockpit, you have to look down at the landing gear crank, and you have to use your mouse, and you gotta crank. No, I don't want to do that. That's why I pretty much stopped playing the Wings of Tobruk. The mechanics are just too, I hate using this word, but I'm going to use this word, wonky. It just didn't feel good. It just doesn't feel fun to play. And Yomogami, you are also another one that makes a lot of comments, and I appreciate you. I love you to death. And you agree, because I made a comment that I felt like I had to start a new game every time a new release was coming out. And they were coming out like fairly regularly. Like every month I had to start a new game. Hunter, you're turning 14 and you have an MP7 and an HK, or by HK, and you're also thinking about getting the P90. Well, let me say this. You're 14, so you're right on that edge of deciding that you want to play airsoft competitively. I understand right now you're probably in your neighborhood, you're probably playing with your friends, and this P90 and that MP7 by HK are good guns for neighborhood play. If you are getting that urge to maybe go to a field, play with adults, up your game a little bit, don't get the P90. Save your money. Get something a little bit more substantial. Okay, something a little bit more competitive. Something with a higher metal, something more durable, something with more range and FPS. That's just my suggestion. Right now, at 14, 15, 16, in that era, you're probably thinking, do I want to keep doing airsoft? Or is that something that I just want to do as a kid? Something to think about. Okay, and Derek is carrying the Cyclops sniper rifle to reverse engineer. I would recommend helping Havens. Yogogami, that's another one of those. Don't tell me, but I was already thinking that anyway. I appreciate you. I love you to death. Okay. And this right here where it says you were able to claim soldiers and civilians to rescue other soldiers. Yes. Okay. The comment basically implies that in the mission, there are some NPCs running around. They've got a zone of control. And if you get next to them, you gain control over that NPC. And normally what you do is you run them to the exit, right? But if you take this NPC and you move him over to another NPC, you can rescue other NPCs. Now, the issue that I think Yogogami is saying is the scientists won't rescue anybody, but if you rescue soldiers, those new rescued soldiers can go over and rescue other scientists and soldiers. And I agree with that. I think that is true. Okay, now, Skid's hole shot which I think is a great name. But he's looking to know if there's any Spitfires, flight yokes for a Spitfire. And then JG comes out and corrects him and says that a stick that you move around is not a yoke. A yoke is something with a steering wheel, and it goes into the dash. Now, the Spitfire does have a joystick, but it has this circular handle on it, and I think that's why Skids was thinking it's a yoke, is because you can grip it. But it's actually, like what he was saying, it's a spade grip. I would have just called it a grip. It's, whatever. But he says just Google it. You'll find people that are selling it. I don't know. I haven't Googled it, and I just use a standard HOTAS even when I'm flying a Spitfire. Okay. And he says something. Okay, now Yogagami says something about ground zero. I'm not sure what you mean by that. And then Timpala 44 saw my Condor pistol pouch. He said it worked great for his Springfield Elite with his light and his optic. I recommend the drop holster because it is specifically adjustable for any light or optics. Okay, Yogami says, yeah, you got to get got to jump through hoops to get the antediluvian weapons. Yep, I agree. I didn't realize that you got to park one of your ships over an antediluvian mine so that it'll actively mine the resources. Just recently found that out. Okay. Jason likes the Hail Caesar rule videos, but he's also saying that there's a new Hail Caesar army list, biblical to early medieval, out there. There is. I think I've done a video on it. It is a double. I think I've got it on the wall. It is double thick, costs twice as much, and it has both books in one book. And I don't know if they've done every army that I've looked at looks exactly the same as the ones in the original books, but I think it's just a reprint. I don't think it's like an errata. Okay. JG says good mission. Eduardo says, am I wrong? I forgot a crate. It's possible. Sometimes I skip crates because it's more important to get my guys to safety than to get a crate. And it's hard to find single-player content for IL-2. He says, don't worry about the other commenters. Just use labels if you want. I agree. There's a comment about glasses that I have to comment on. Says that Sheriff, the Sim Shack, I think is who he is, has great videos. Well, I watched a few of the Sheriff videos, and some of them are extremely informative, and some of them are dry to the point where I can't watch them. There's two streamers out there that I watch heavily when it comes to IL-2. I watch Taff in Exile. He's hysterical. I think he is... I think he's like super smart, but he just plays that he's stupid on camera to kind of get the views. I think because he will do things and I'll be like, no, he's smarter than that. And then later he'll prove that he's smarter than that. But I don't know. Is he doing it deliberately, or is he just being absent-minded? I don't know. But I enjoy watching his videos. He's very insightful, and he has a good time playing. And that's all I care about, really. I care about the good times. I don't care about the nitty-gritty details. I want fun. And then the other guy I watch is Wolfpack. Wolfpack is, he tries to put a little role play in, a little storyline. He laughs at his faults, and he's actually a really good player. He doesn't realize it, but he is. And then he's actually the guy, Wolfpack actually, he doesn't know this, but Wolfpack is who got me into IL-2. I watched his P-51 career in the early days, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool game. I think I'm going to buy it. And I went and bought it. And it was at the time when I was trying to find something as an alternative to War Thunder, because War Thunder was starting to grow too mechanically gamey. And I wanted to get away from a game and closer to, I wanted to get away from a grind and get closer to fun. And that's really what I did. Okay. Okay. Boots on the Table. Boots on the Table said, oh, I haven't responded. Oh, that's where those videos are. I'm going to have to unclick this, but I'm going to read the Boots on the Table real quick. He said, I think he's got his own YouTube channel. I go check him out, but he's got a lot of videos. I think that's correct. He says 40 figures at 20 pounds is a great value, right? Now I must have said that it was not a good value. That's not exactly what I meant. It might have been what I said, and I think I might have said something. That's something I might have said, but that's not really what I meant, because I'm comparing it to I'm comparing the Elite Battalion box to the Battalion box. The Battalion box is 44 figures, and the Elite Battalion, or the Elite Companies, is only 40 figures. So you get 4 figures less. That's the only thing. That's what I meant by value. The regular battalion, I think, is a much better value, because if you just add 4 figures to it, you'd have 48 figures. That's 2 24-man units. That's what I was saying. And that's exactly what he says. He heard me, because that's what he comments here. And I'll give him a thumbs up on that. Why not? Okay. I'm going to uncheck this I haven't responded to, because there are a few that I haven't responded. We're going to start at this top one here. It says, what is this crappy heavy metal music with these gun videos? Well, let me pull up this crappy heavy metal music. I clicked on the wrong button. Okay. Here we go. Right there. Right here. Listen to this. No, that ain't it. Hold on. This is it. Okay, so that's the title song from Quake, and that's what I responded, Quake, because I love that song. That's an awesome song. Okay, and what's funny is I just noticed that when I pulled that up, let's not play it. It says that it's from Kevin MacLeod in CompTech. It's not. This was ID Software. And there was a band, I don't remember the name of the band. He might have bought the rights to it. That's a mover, because that's not who it was from. Okay. Yeah, there's another comment I want to make about glasses. Here it is. Okay, Stieglitz and Things with Wings. We're going to stop with this comment here, because it might be a little bit heated. You can read, hopefully you can read what it says on the screen. But as soon as I hit that word right there, that triggered me. And then I stopped reading this comment unbiasedly. When I read this comment and I got to, I'm wearing glasses too, pal. My heat went up. Okay. Not because of him. It brought back memories. There was a game out there called City of Heroes. I used to play a lot. I used to play every night. That was my go-to game. I would get home from work. I would log into City Heroes. There was an event one year where you throw frisbees around and snowballs and stuff. It was stupid. It was whatever. And I was throwing, some character was out there throwing snowballs and frisbees, and I was throwing them back, and we were throwing them to other people or whatever. And this guy gets in my face, a big character, some super villain, hero, whatever, because this is a superhero game. He gets in my face and he puts in the comments or the chat, he chats with me and says, "Hey, bud." bud was very triggering to me. You don't say, hey, bud, to somebody you don't know. Hey, buddy. Buddy is okay. Buddy, I accept. Bud, I don't accept. Pal, I don't accept. If you come up to me and say, hey, pal, that tells me you have disregard or you're very rude and you're trying to be, this is the word I'm looking for, you're trying to be condescending. Pal is condescending. It means you're my dad. Hey, pal. Hey, buddy. No, you don't come to me with that. And and then he comes on and he says, I'm not going to go into the whole City Heroes thing. That was a long diatribe that I spent like an hour on in the last video that nobody heard because I was muted. But I'm not muted here, am I? Okay. He says, okay, before we get into that, I'm going to talk about Track IR, right? I got Track IR here. It mounts to the side of my headset. And when I'm playing, IL-2 specifically, when I'm playing, I can turn my head and in-game, my view will change. So like this, any little movement like this, it won't move. I've got it set so that it doesn't recognize little movements like this because I'll be doing this while I'm playing or whatever. So it won't recognize that. And then when I go, so if I want my head to move, I have to be more deliberate with it. And so when I start turning like this, now my head will turn. And if I turn maybe like this, I'll be looking straight out this side. So my sensitivity is way up, right? So it's shooting out the side. If I want to see behind me, because there's somebody might be tailing me, I've got to turn enough that Track IR realizes that I've turned, but I can still see the screen, right? I'm still looking at the screen, and my head vision in the screen has turned all the way around so I could see behind me. Okay, and that's how it's set up. So nothing here, but when I deliberately move a little bit, right, my head will turn and then turn behind me. Okay. In previous versions of IL-2, visibility was horrible in-game. The level of detail, the LODs of the planes were crappy. So when I turn like this, now I'm looking through my corner of my eyeglasses. I can't see the screen. I can barely see a little bit of this, and I can see quite a bit of this, but I can't see that. When I'm looking behind me, this is most important. When I'm looking behind me, my head is turned about this much, and now I'm looking at the screen with no glasses, right? No glasses. That's behind me. When I'm looking with no glasses, in the old model of visibility, there might be somebody behind me, but I can't even read the words there. It's blurry. I can read them now. I can't read that. And so I made a comment. In my video, I said, my glasses suck. I'm glad they're changing the visibility. I use icons because when I have my head turned like this, I need to be able to see if there's any planes there, and those icons help. And also, because the level of detail sucks in the game at that time, those icons helped me identify or locate planes. Now that the visibility has been patched, that was the big patch right there, the 4501. It makes it so that I can actually see the planes now. So I can remove the icons. I can remove the icons now. Makes it look more realistic, right? Without those icons. So I was digging it. And I made a comment about that. And then he comes back and says, I'm wearing glasses too, pal. And then he says, however, You can modify the track IR profile in a way that increases your movement exaggeration factor so that you can have a wider angle of movement in game, only with minimal head movement. I didn't know that. Really? Wow. Appreciate that. That's cool. I never knew that. I hope this can help you. I wonder if English is his second language and not his first language. Because that's another thing that triggers me. I hope this can help you. I'm offended by that. Now, a better way to say it would be, I hope this helps you. But when you put that word can, that tells me that there's a possibility I can't be helped. I'm sorry if English is my first language. And so what did I reply? After cooling off, I said, "Thanks, pal." Yeah, sorry. I mean, there are certain things that trigger me, and that's one of them. That's that. Yeah, language. You know, when I hear people, I have this whole video about how YouTubers use certain words that they shouldn't be using. I made a whole video about that. Like, one of them is hyped and hype. So, a lot of YouTubers used to say, and I've noticed maybe my video had some impact, or other people have talked to them, or maybe they just learned. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming out and checking out my channel update. I know it was about an hour, and I appreciate you guys. If you guys got any questions about my miniature painting, or if you have any questions about like how to do certain things, or how to play a certain game, or anything, please post it and I will respond as soon as I get a chance to read it, or at the end of the month when I review all of my comments. So, all right, guys. Well, don't forget to check out my eBay channel. That way you can check out my store, pick up some miniatures. I usually sell them fairly cheap on there, and they're all painted. I don't sell, for the most part, I don't sell like unpainted stuff. What I do is I get the models in, I assemble them, I paint them, and then I sell them painted. So there is a charge for the painting service. But if you want anything specifically painted for you, just ask and I'll paint it up and I'll post it up on my eBay store. Or if you want, you can always specifically commission me, and then I can give you my PayPal, and then we can move on from there. All right, so I guess that's it. That's it for the channel. I'll see you next month on the next channel update, and stay safe out there.